It's just week 4 of Season of the Deep, and GMs have returned early with Lightblade as the weekly featured Grandmaster. Teams often dread running this GM due to the Lucent Moths, those pesky Hive Guardians, and the incredibly unforgiving boss room. This guide will help you alleviate those pain points by covering positioning tips, spawn control tactics, and team compositions to get you through this Nightfall as quickly and painlessly as possible. I'm Above, and if you enjoyed today's video, a like and subscription would be greatly appreciated. Now, let's get into it. Starting with my recommended team comp, there are several viable options here, but the two that we found to be by far the most useful was one Invis Hunter with Aeon Swifts and any Strand subclass of your choosing. Strand Hunter is ideal because of their double shackle grenades, which allows you to lock down multiple spawn points from range at any given time. And since you don't need any specific exotics to make Strand Hunter work, you can use a second pair of Aeons and alternate finishers, which means that your entire fire team has heavy ammo at all times. Your third fire team member can also run Strand if they'd like to play it safe, or you can use something like Thunder Crash for a setup with a bit more damage. As for weapon loadouts, you'll need to come equipped for both solar and arc shields, and cover both barrier and unstoppable champions. The beauty of Strand is that it opens up so much loadout variety, as Suspend covers both champion types. Arbalist and Wishender are both fantastic for dealing with barrier champions, and as always, Galahorn is an ideal pick in the heavy slot for ad clear. We paired this with an arc rocket to take advantage of the surge, and a blinding grenade launcher to help suppress screams in the swamp. Our Void Hunter utilized a linear fusion rifle, as they're responsible for baiting a la cool in the boss room. Linears have much better ammo economy than rockets, and are much safer in this close range role. Everything else in your team's loadout is totally personal preference. Our key armor mods include arc resist and concussive dampener to counter the seemingly endless sources of arc damage in this Nightfall. This will help you with Lucent Moths, Ala Cool's insanely lethal splash damage attack, and so much more. You'll also want to utilize Sect of Insight on both Aeon gauntlets to produce heavy ammo when performing finishers. I also recommend Counter Charge from the seasonal artifact, as it will grant you an armor charge for an easy damage bonus every time you stun a champion. As we dive into the opening area of this Nightfall, immediately focus the boss as a fire team and damage it until you reach the immunity health gate. This will force the boss to leave, which opens the door to the next encounter. And a quick little tip is that you can actually skip every single enemy in this area, including both barrier champions, and still get platinum rewards. Simply send your Invis Hunter forward, and when they reach the entrance of the first room in the temple, it will despawn the rest of the enemies outside for your teammates, saving you several minutes at the start of this GM. The next encounter has typically been one of the most difficult in previous seasons, but is much easier now that Strand exists. You can suspend everything in this room except for the Hive Guardians, which makes this much less overwhelming. As you enter the room, use Galley to take out the 2 solar wizards in front of you, then head to the left stairs and suspend the first barrier. Once dead, head back up the stairs and use the high ground for cover. The center of this room will be littered with enemies, which is why I recommend throwing your debuff and shackle grenade, because it will group these enemies up and help your rockets clear them out in seconds. Keep in mind that you'll need to finish the Hive Guardian's ghost to prevent it from respawning, and your Invis Hunter is perfect for this. It's also worth noting that Hive Guardians, Champions, and Lightbearer Knights will all grant heavy ammo on finisher, so stock up as needed. Hive Guardian spawns are based on the number of red bars alive at any given time. So if we kill too many, we can actually overlap ad spawns and have multiple Hive Guardians alive at once, which we obviously don't want. Lucky for us, most of the red bars hide under the awnings on either side of the arena, which means that our rocket strat won't kill them. This means that we can leave the last few red bars alive while our teammates reposition themselves to spawn kill the second Hive Guardian, which will spawn in front of the hallway from which we entered. And once dead, we can then clear the next wave of red bars, kill the third and final Hive Guardian, and we're moving on. Before hopping on the barge, there will be 2 barrier champions to take care of. If you need to stock up on ammo before the next part of this Grandmaster, now is the perfect time to do so. Before jumping on the ship, you can kill the ads on the platforms in front of you. This will make your ride much safer and allows you to shift your focus solely on the Shrieker. You'll want to spawn kill this as soon as it opens, then locate these two fountains on your right and left hand sides. Have one teammate jump up on each fountain, allowing them to scale this ledge up to where the orbs spawn. This allows you to grab the orbs as soon as they appear and dunk them without engaging the Hive Guardians whatsoever. Once both orbs have been dunked, the barrier will dissipate and the barge will continue moving forward. Gjallarhorn makes quick work of the wizards on the bridge, and if you're not comfortable riding the barge all the way through, you can actually hop off the ship and clear adds slowly if needed. The Shrieker and solar grenades thrown by surrounding enemies are kinda sketchy, which is why the slow and methodical approach will be much safer for most teams. The barge will continue forward and spawn a portal on the final bridge. You can then take this portal and instantly teleport back to the ship, but when you arrive, you actually want to jump off the barge and stand on the side of these platforms next to where the Thrall spawn doors are. As long as you're not blocking the doorway, the Thrall will ignore you entirely and jump to the ship, making them incredibly easy to kill. Once clear, hop back on the barge, and after a short ride, you'll arrive at the swamp. As you jump down, a group of Screebs will begin rushing towards you, but instead of killing them, you actually want to use Strand to suspend them and try to forget about them entirely. If your grenade happens to kill them, you always have your blinding grenade as a backup option when the next wave spawns. Keeping these enemies alive prevents any other ad spawns throughout the entirety of the swamp, which makes your journey between the lanterns pretty easy. Strand puts a ton of distance between you and the first wave, which essentially makes them a non-factor. Just keep an eye out for the Lucent Moths as you travel between the lanterns, and you'll be through this area in no time. When you reach the end of the swamp, the cave will contain an unstoppable champion and a pretty significant group of ads. Suspend the champ while you clear the surrounding enemies, along with the snipers on the high ground, then finish the unstop for ammo. You can then clear the rest of the cave and will arrive at the cliffside overlooking the next encounter. Your first priority should be stunning the unstoppable abomination, as this champ gets absolutely annihilated by the hive, and if you don't tag it before it dies, you can lose out on platinum rewards. So stun the champ, then let the hive do the rest of the work. You can then shift your focus to the Shriekers on either side of Ala Cool, and rockets should take these out no problem. And once dead, the boss will despawn. There will then be 2 yellow bar ogres and 1 unstoppable ogre that you'll need to take out before heading to the boss room, but these should be relatively straightforward. As you drop down, the boss fight begins. This used to be the hardest part of this Grandmaster, but if you follow the strategy outlined today, I promise it's not too bad. Ala Cool will spawn in the center of the arena, and you want your Invis Hunter to grab aggro as quickly as possible. We have them take this role because they have the ability to get out of trouble with Invis should anything go wrong. To do this, simply stand on the platform directly across from the boss, which makes his AI jump towards you instead of firing his ranged attack. And this is crucial to success in this boss fight because Ala Cool's ranged attack is nasty and can easily wipe your team if the boss is allowed to roam freely. The timing for this is actually quite simple. As the boss jumps over to you, wait until he's about to land, then jump to the center platform. Timing your jumps this way ensures that you'll never get hit, while also staying close enough to the boss to maintain aggro. Then rinse and repeat this process back and forth between the 2 platforms while your teammates clear the first wave of Thrall from the opposite side of the arena. Spacing is key here, so make sure your teammates are positioned far enough from the boss so that your hunter always maintains aggro. As you can see, linears are perfect for doing passive damage to the boss as you bait him back and forth. It allows you to hip fire at close range with extremely high accuracy, which makes this weapon type extremely easy to use. A second wave of Thrall will spawn when the boss reaches 80% health, and your teammates should be able to clean these up rather easily. Continue damaging the boss until we reach our first health gate at 65% HP. When this happens, a Hive Guardian and 2 shielded Arc Knights will spawn, spawn in the center of the arena. Strand comes in clutch here as it allows you to suspend the Lightbearer Knights while you deal with the Hive Guardian, because just like in the first encounter, these Hive Guardians are not suspendable. Suspending the Arc Knights allows you to focus on the Hive Guardian as a team and get finishers as needed. And you'll want to leave at least one of the Arc Knights alive, as killing both will instantly progress the encounter, which we do not want to do. Make sure that we have all of our abilities ready to go, because when the final knight dies, 2 barrier champions will spawn in while the boss becomes active at the same time, and yes, this can be as hectic as it sounds. Luckily, we have the perfect way to manage this. For the first set of champions at 65% health, you want your hunter to position themselves on the platform directly across from the Oryx statue, while your teammates position themselves to the left of it. This forces the barriers to spawn in these positions on the opposite side of the arena every single time. And now that we know their spawn locations, your teammates can prepare to suspend them as soon as they appear. And while this is happening, your hunter is positioned to immediately grab boss aggro and continue baiting the boss. I like to nuke the first barrier with rockets and finish the second barrier to restock our fire team with ammo. And just like that, one of the hardest parts of this Grandmaster is now over in a matter of seconds. Continue baiting the boss until the next major health gate at 50% HP. It is at this point that the second set of barriers will spawn, except this time, the boss will remain active. With that said, we don't need to worry about Hive Guardians or Arc Knights this time around. Our positioning will be slightly different during this phase, with our hunter shifting to the right platform, while our teammates sit next to this knob on the left side of the boss arena. This forces the barriers to spawn at the 2 locations shown on screen, and like we did last time, we'll make sure to have our strand abilities off cooldown before the boss hits the 50% health gate. We'll then spawn trap the barriers while our hunter continues baiting the boss. The third and final health gate will occur at 33% HP. We'll have a Hive Guardian and 2 Arc Knights once again, and you're free to kill these as soon as they appear. The final 2 barriers will spawn when the boss reaches 25% health, and for this set of barriers, we want to position ourselves like we did for the first set of champions, with our hunter directly across from the Oryx statue and our teammates to the left of it. Kill the final 2 barriers and continue damaging the boss until the Lightblade Grandmaster Nightfall is a GG. If you found this guide useful, a like and subscription would be greatly appreciated, and you can catch me live over at twitch.tv/above, where I'll be doing GM helps all season long. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace!